You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, believe it or not, it's another week. And I have the big celebrity of Johnson County, Rich Hooper from 88.3 The Journey.
I was looking over my shoulder. Who is that?
Are you kidding me? You are the Ron Chapman of Johnson County.
Wow.
You know who that is, right?
I do know who that is.
I bet most of my listening audience may not know unless they're my age, but I remember that was the first radio DJ I knew by name.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And then, started listening to the other guys in the morning and stuff like that, but the rock and roll zoo and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah. But that's a long time ago. Now I listen to nothing but hymns or something like that.
Or 88.3 The Journey.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I get them. Anyway, seriously, I've heard plenty of 88.3 The Journey because that's my wife's station.
Okay.
And the rule is if she's in the car, that's the station. I don't care who's driving.
I love that rule.
Yeah, it's a good rule. You could, to make it universal, right?
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about your fundraising push, the ins and outs and what it does and all that other stuff. Some other things that's going on with you personally about, some of the assistance you give churches and things of that nature. And just, talk about the station itself and all that. There's a lot going on as always. This is the 3 times a year you say you do this thing, right?
Yeah, we do it in the spring, the fall, and that's coming up this week. And we also do year-end, middle of December, just to get those last-minute tax contributions in.
Does that really work that way? I wouldn't know.
We do have some people who give a large amount there at the end of the year, just to make sure that they get that in before December 31st,
Yeah. Well, that's good. So I guess that answers a question that most people would have is this tax deductible? And it is, because y'all are not a for-profit station.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit 501c3 non-commercial station, listener supported. So I should say we're community supported. 80% of our income is from listeners, and about 20% we have businesses that support us.
And so if you're going to give, it's a 501c, and we'll talk about towards the end how they can access that. I'm sure you have that ability on your websites and whatever else.
Absolutely.
These nonprofits, they don't shy away from using technology. I'll put it that way, because they got a pretty good operation going on. I've gotten to be pretty familiar with a lot of the nonprofit operations in this area, and it's a 24/7 gig.
It is,
and almost everyone says they really didn't love what they were doing. If they really didn't believe in what they're doing, they wouldn't be doing it, because that is a harder part of the job.
Right.
And not that it's a drudgery or you resent it or anything like that. I don't want to imply that in your case or their case either, but it is part of the job.
I think anything that you do, there are things that you really love about it, and there's some things that you don't love but are still non-negotiable. But like you say, it's really the mission behind what we do that drives us to take some time to, and it really is a celebration. That's what we call it, just to celebrate what God is doing through the station in many people's lives.
Well, you probably have the same experience a lot of the nonprofit friends I've made have, is that when they go to these donors, it's also a good opportunity for them to give you some positive strokes, so to speak, because you're doing good work. Next Step Women's Center is doing good work. So is Crazy 8. So is Harvest House Promises. You fill in the blank. In fact, I'm going to have Elizabeth Becker and Crowley House of Hope on in a couple of weeks. And sometimes, going to potential donors might seem like, well, it's got to be done. But you come away from that experience actually blessed by it, because you're dealing with somebody that believes in the same things you do.
Yeah.
And they're very encouraging. And they can hear stories about how their donations, their contributions made a difference. And you could tell them the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm going to run through my contributors, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely.
This may not be nonprofit, but it's not a way to get rich quick, I'm afraid. But our friend, Our Place, I bet you've been to the one in Cleburne.
I have.
Yeah, because that's the one that's closest to you and Keene. But Our Place is very well known for its generosity with a lot of these various groups. And Otto is kind of like a go-to person for a lot of things. Now, I don't know if he wants me to tell people that, because because they do get a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, he's very generous.
Yeah, and generous people get a lot of calls. All right,
And they've got great pancakes too. So
They do. Well, when I go, I usually get the standard breakfast because I'm just old fashioned. But when I go have lunch, I like the chicken fried steak. And of course, there's one right down the street. You notice.
I've been to that one.
You've been to that one. I have not yet. Because when I go to our place, I go to the one near me, which is on the highway. And they have this questionnaire, if you want to call it that. Otto put it on his Facebook. Which mural should I put on the side of the building? And I chose number 3. I don't know what he's going to choose. He'll let me know. Also, Gina's Pizza, same thing. I really enjoy their pizza and I enjoy their atmosphere. It's a good place to go do business. Sunday nights, they have live music. Wednesday nights, they have karaoke. And they have chess night on Tuesdays. And so the chess club's there and that kind of stuff. But it's a good place. You know, there's going to be sports on the TV and stuff like that. It's a great place to go. So drop on by. Also, my friend John Williams over at Old Pro Roofing. It finally rained Saturday. Did you get any?
I did.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
I mean, it's like almost a month and change before it hadn't rained on my yard. And it's like, I'm not going to run up the water bill. So it was a real blessing. And so 817-734-2756, he'll come check your roof out. I didn't have any worries because he's checked my roof out about 4 months ago. He said I was good to go. And so you need to have the roof inspected at least once a year because insurance companies are getting very, very particular about replacing roofs. And if you let it go for any length of time, they can claim old damage, therefore, sorry. And so you need somebody like John to tell you, and he'll also help you with the insurance companies. And he'll tell you some are better to work with than others. And all there's to it, 817-734-2756. Sorry, John. Also, Jeff Kelly over at the Withington Agency. He sells all over, including in Keene. Keene isn't growing particularly fast, but I bet it will soon.
It is. It's actually starting to see some growth, especially some neighborhoods that are being built.
I bet that it's cases because as we expand in Burleson and property becomes more scarce, you know what's happening is it spilled over into Godly, he'll tell you, and to Joshua. You know, I had the Joshua superintendent of schools on about 10 days ago, and it is a everyday job keeping up with the growth. You know, very, very quick growth. And so they're always having to accommodate that. But anyway, call him at 817-781-0546. And he sells all over Johnson County. So he'll sell in Keene too. I don't know. Keene's pretty wild.
He must have been at a different side of Keene.
I know. I haven't. I have a neighbor and she's retired from the Keene school system and she loved it. Yeah. She said the kids are well behaved and all this stuff. You know, so it's a good community to teach in. 817-781-0546. Also, our friend Tiffany over at Local Life Magazine. You should have it by now, certainly. In about 10 days, you're going to get a new one. Goes to 30,000 homes, and it gets a lot of coverage. And a lot of the retailers have extra copies for you to peruse while you wait, if you're having to wait, and things like that. So Local Life Magazine, call Tiffany if you're interested in advertising with her. Also, thank you to a friend, Al Warner at Bass Printing and Consulting. If you need stuff stamped on it, with your name, your logo, whatever, he can do it. Hats and shirts and cups and pens and pencils and you name it, he can do it. So give an email at alrick, that's ALRICK, at bassprinting.com, or call him at 817-616-8761, and he'll set you right up. He's over at the Hub in Burleson, so he's nearby. I think that's it for we're going to save the nonprofit stuff. We've got a couple of nonprofit things coming up, Harvest House and such as that. We'll just talk about that. Now let's talk about 88.3 The Journey.
Speaking of nonprofit.
Yeah, all right. There are a lot of music stations out there that play similar to your music. How do you differentiate yourself?
Well, the biggest thing that we like to say is we are locally owned and operated. Many of the stations that you hear, even here in the Johnson County, Southern Tarrant County area, are national networks. They play great music. They do a great job. They're just not locally owned and operated. And so we are the only locally owned and operated contemporary Christian music station in Dallas-Fort Worth. There's another station that's friends of ours, KCBI. They do teaching and talk, and they do music. But we're the only one that's 24/7 contemporary Christian music. The other thing that really sets us apart, being locally owned and operated, is we really are super serving the communities that we cover. Keene, Burleson, Cleburne, Crowley, Grandview, Rio Vista,
the old timers, don't forget Joshua.
And Joshua.
And El Rito.
Yeah. So we're really in the community. We're talking about things that are going on there on the air. In fact, I tell people this: our number one mission is really to keep you encouraged with great Christian music. That's the number one mission. We all need encouragement, and that's what we're doing 24/7. A secondary mission of ours really is to be the megaphone and mouthpiece for all of the different things going on in the community, even the nonprofits. We could help tell the community about what's going on for them, promote their events, help promote their mission. And so that's kind of what we do. We don't go out and try to do what Harvest House is doing. We don't try to do what Crazy 8 is doing. But we love talking about these different organizations and letting our listeners know and letting the community know how they can get involved.
Well, I do know. I remember listening to it when you had Summer and Megan from Next Step on.
Yeah.
And they had an opportunity to promote their nonprofit at Next Step. And, you don't get that with the national stations.
Right.
Right. I don't know these stations as well. I mean, because when we talk about Christian music, it's 88.3. I do know two others by name, but I don't know what their content is other than it's Christian music. K-Love and Air One.
Yeah.
But they're not the same stations that they were a while back. K-Love is like a national broadcast.
Right. Yes, they're out of Nashville, Tennessee, and like I say, they do great work, and we have friends that work there. And if local doesn't matter to you, that's fine. But we really like to say that we're part of the community, and we're broadcasting around the world, actually online. But through our app, you can listen anywhere in North Texas. When KLTY was sold and went under, so to speak, K-Love then purchased their frequency. We've had several of the people from KLTY, for instance, Frank Reed, who was on for 30 years there at KLTY.
Right.
He now does afternoons for us at The Journey from 3 to 7. And then Big Mike Prendergast, who was the program director there for 20 years, he's actually over to programming for The Journey as well.
Well, radio stations, a radio profession is not known for its stability.
Yeah.
I don't know if you keep up with the secular stations as much, but the last week they let go over at Lone Star 102, let go of Bo Roberts.
Wow.
You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He was been on for 40 years. And and basically the story I read in the Dallas paper was it was just a typical Tuesday. They said, hey, come see us after your show. And they fired him right then. Goodbye, good luck, get your crap and get out of here. And so they didn't even get to say goodbye to the listeners.
Yeah. That's
and
tough.
after 40 years. And so, it is kind of a tough way to make a living because there's so much instability in it. But as far as the reason why my wife and I listen to 88.3 is what you just talked about, because you can get good music on stations, but we like the fact that it's a local station.
Yeah.
And we like the fact that when they refer to things on your station, we know what they're talking about most of the time. We know, and it's also not just supporting home folks, but we're also supporting donors of yours as well. Sure. And so that's a lot of it has to do with that. But as far as trying to differentiate it, I mean, it's tough, because you have a lot of options out there, not just Christian music, but also other types of music or talk shows. Here's another thing about talk radio. I was complaining about this online the other day. I listen sometimes to sports talk. How much in an hour do you think you get in sports talk, and how much you get in commercials?
Oh, yeah.
I've listened to your station. There's no commercials.
No.
I mean, you may have a shout out to a donor, but that's not the same thing. Thanks to so and so for contributing and supporting our business here. But you get on like The Fan, which is what I listen to sometimes. It's like 7 or 8 minutes of commercials and 12 minutes of guys acting like knuckleheads. Yeah, and then another 7 or 8 minutes of commercials. It's tedious.
Well, and that's their business model, and I'm not throwing shade to them, but I do like the fact that we are non-commercial, community supported. Just means instead of playing 8 to 12 minutes of commercials, we can play 2 more songs that someone needs to hear to keep them encouraged during that time frame.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And it's everybody who listens, all of our listeners can then come alongside and help support what's going on, and basically it becomes their station too. They're helping us accomplish the mission that we're accomplishing.
Well, and it's true because I'm using my wife as a reference. When she's not in the best frame of mind, it really does help to have some music. Even if your thoughts are somewhere else, that music is still kind of surrounding you and enter into your subconscious even. And so she's a big fan. Awesome. And as far as the alternatives, I mean, she has nothing bad to say about them or anything like that. But she just, again, it's the local aspect I think she likes the most. Yeah. But the only time she listens to the other stations is if she's in, way out, from, because your range is not as broad as, say, Air One, but
Right.
again, you're dealing with somebody somewhere half a country away, right?
Yeah.
Where is Air One located at?
So Air One is in, I think they're in Nashville as
Yeah.
well.
All
Yeah,
right.
Air One is owned by the same people that own K-Love,
Oh, beautiful.
same company, and so their headquarters are in Nashville, Tennessee. And again, they do great work, and love the guys there. But that's the thing that does set us apart. I also like to say that the thing that does set us apart is we can partner with local churches.
Oh, yeah, that's
and and to talk about what's going on there. We do have several churches that, like Heights Church and Open Door Church, and Keene Church, that are ministry partners with us. And they support us on a monthly basis. But then a lot of times we talk to these smaller churches, and they don't have the marketing budget, they don't have the funds. We could still partner with them and talk about what's going on, the special events, and just to let people know that there are options out there. If you're looking for a church, there's options out there for you.
So if a church is having like a teaching series, in the next 6 weeks, the preacher's going to talk about something, a consistent theme or something like that, they can promote it on your show.
Absolutely. Or if they're having a seminar or a concert. This month, we have 3 different concerts that we've been promoting. The last 2 weekends, we had Kane and others that I can't remember because my brain is mush.
Well.
This past weekend, Cochran and Company was in Haltom City. And so this is the thing that I was going to mention. Haltom City is just outside of our listening area, but we were at the concert, and we had a booth, and we were giving away prizes. We were also letting people know you can listen anywhere in North Texas through our app.
Right.
Because many people are listening digitally now, whether it's Spotify or whatever. Now you can have our app on your phone, and when you get in your car, Android Autoplay or Apple Autoplay, they will automatically start playing 88.3 The Journey. And we always like to say this, you get no static when you listen to The Journey through our app.
Right. And that's a good thing. I'm not going to mention my station too much because it's not really a competitor.
No,
really.
not really.
But because it's a different genre altogether. But I was in Oklahoma and I could hear it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with y'all. And so even if you're like on a trip somewhere and you want some hometown feeling, you can pull in your station.
There you go.
And that's not a bad thing because sometimes, if you're going to be gone for a while, it's nice to have some sort of connection back home. And it's particularly if you're going to have the churches involved, that's a big thing. That's a really big thing because those larger stations, God bless them, they can't do that.
Sure.
Or if they do it, it's going to cost that church some money to do it.
Yeah.
And yours is more of a partnership.
It is.
And whatnot. Do churches donate to
We
the
do.
station? Yeah.
We have 2 or 3 churches that put us in their home missions budget, or sometimes it's their marketing budget, and they support us. And so we run spots to say thank you to those churches and let everybody know that, hey, they support us. Open Door Church is a great supporter here in Burleson, and Pastor Troy will send us a 30-second recording or a 1-minute recording every week that we'll play. And, hey, here's what's going on at our church. And they just celebrated 30 years of ministry, and so we were talking about that on the air. And Cody Hughes from Heights Church, all their campuses, he is their supporters of us as well. Keene Church, of course, in Keene.
Kelly Alexander says, hey.
Oh, hey.
There she is
Kelly.
on the screen there. Okay. But, the Heights Church, I believe they're building something in Burleson near the fire station.
Yeah, they are.
And, boy, it's going to be a big church, it looks like.
They just opened they had a Granbury campus, but they just moved into an old Big Lots building and expanded their campus there in Granbury. And then Burleson is their next one that they're going to be finishing and opening up soon.
Well, I was talking to a couple of the city council people. They're going to have to hustle, get the roads situated because that's going to be a big crowd.
It is.
But that's a good thing, right? You don't want it to be an empty building because, that's a good thing that there's that kind of growth in the community. And so as far as you're concerned, we go back to this idea that as sponsors, they're not buying advertising, but it is appropriate and it is the right thing to do to mention the generosities.
Sure.
So how do you do that?
So with businesses, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either just support the station as a listener, as a business that appreciates what we're doing, or you can become a business partner with us. And through business partnership, we actually will then run some spots on the air to say thank you, tell who you are, what you do, how they can find you, your website, your phone number, whatever it is, and then just let people know that this business. Here's the thing that I like to tell businesses. I'm not going to tell you that we can promise you foot traffic or web traffic. That's really not what it's about. We're really appealing to the philanthropic side of your business to support the station. But what I can tell you is that our listenership is very loyal. and they love businesses that support the things that they love.
Exactly.
And so if they're very loyal and appreciate what we do and our mission at the Journey, businesses that support that, there's a certain affinity that they have toward those businesses. And that's pretty much something that does come along with that. And so we can do a business partnership, anything from $250 a month to $750 a month. And depending on the level of your sponsorship is the amount of spots that we run, that kind of thing. Just to say thank you, and again, to match the value of your donation.
Right. When I talk to potential sponsors, I don't promise them anything because I can't.
Yeah. Right.
But I do know that a lot of people in this town shop with intention, if you will. They will support businesses that support the community. That's one reason I believe my sponsors here, Opro, Auto, Jeff, Al, Tiffany, all these people get business not just because they're part of this gig, but because also that they're known to support the community.
Absolutely.
And so people say, well, I have a choice in how I could spend money, and I'm going to choose to spend my money on somebody that supports me or sponsored that baseball team or gave to the fundraiser for the volleyball team at the high school or whatever, that kind of thing. And so I see exactly what you mean. I know that when like I'll again mention Robin and my wife, she likes the fact that she could support businesses that support y'all and other outfits. Because we got to keep it going.
Absolutely.
You have a website, of course. So, well, tell Josh what it is. WizKid can pull it up just like that. So.
883thejourney.org. 883thejourney.org.
You already had it up. You already had that up and running, didn't you?
He's a pretty smart fella.
Yeah, that's why he gets the big money. All right.
So we just updated our website. It's fresh and new and all of the things. And so a lot of cool things on the website. You can listen live. I do want to mention this. If you see that on demand, that's right between listen live and get our apps. On demand is really a podcast player that we have on our website. And Mr. Allard's Neighborhood is in that on-demand option. So
I appreciate it.
You can go to on-demand and look at a lot of the different podcasts that are around the area, and use that as your landing place for the different podcasts that you want to listen to.
Do you advertise like other media, like movies and such as that? Because there's more and more. It seems like there's more faith-based entertainment, if you will. I don't know if you call it entertainment, but that's the best word I could think of.
Yeah.
Like my wife was watching a show on The Great American Family or something like that, and it was overtly evangelical. I thought, is this on TV?
Yeah.
And it just, there's movies like that more and more common.
Sure. And we do. We have there's a movie coming out called Sarah's Oil, and it's so new. I can't really. I've seen the trailer about it, but we're in a promotional partnership with that company, with that movie, to actually give away some. What we do is we give away Fandango codes that you can use to take to the theater and actually go see the movie for free. But any kind of movie that comes our way that we look at, if it's number one, if it's not just family friendly, but is it really promoting what we believe? That Christ is the way to salvation and that kind of thing. Then we'll partner with them to promote it. We'll either just mention it as a public service announcement, or we can run into a promotional partnership with them in exchange for they either support us financially or they'll give us tickets to give away for us to promote it.
And then there's other movies coming out more and more, Hollywood produced movies.
Oh yeah,
and I always thought there'd be a market for well-produced movies. I mean, when I was a kid, they had a couple of them, and they were just pretty amateur.
Yeah.
All right. And a lot of the music in the 70s, Christian music, was not anywhere near as sophisticated or as high quality as it is now. I mean, there was some, but a lot of it was, well, this is Christian music, so you're going to have to like it, as opposed to liking it for what it was. But I think really what changed a lot of that was in the 80s, we started getting a lot more quality music being produced in the Christian community. And now, the only other radio station I remember in my high school days that played anything other, is Christian related, that played anything other than hymns was KPBC.
I remember them.
Yeah. And they're about as hard rocking as Bread or John Denver, that kind of thing. But it was something other than How Great Thou Art. And so for 16-year-old kids, it's like, well, it beats nothing. Now you have all these other choices, and there's so much better choices.
Yeah.
And you have also, I think, more of it being expressed in the secular world as well, which is a good thing.
Yeah, you do have a lot of crossover where some of the contemporary Christian music artists will do songs that will for instance, Ann Wilson was just on tour with a country artist, and she was like the opening act for him. And Ann Wilson is unashamedly Christian, and her words are very biblical and Christ centered. Well, she was the opening act on tour with a country artist. And so there seems to be a lot of this crossover. Of course, Jelly Roll doing a song with Brandon Lake, Hard for Hallelujah.
Would you play that song?
We did. We have played that just because it's interesting to hear. I'm not going to necessarily tell you that Jelly Roll is a strong believer, but I can tell you he loves Jesus, and he's changed. I mean, he'll even tell you that. All of us are a work in progress. I mean, let's just be real, you know. But the interesting thing is just to me, what's more important is that he sings this song with Brandon Lake. And now some of these country stations or other stations are playing Brandon Lake. And so now they're getting exposed to more contemporary Christian music and, more importantly, getting exposed to the message.
Well, I tell you, in my high school days, the breakthrough, if you will, for Christian music was Bob Dylan. He had that album, Slow Train Running, which is my favorite album. Slow Train Coming, sorry, I'll get it right. But Slow Train Coming was his first Christian album, and it was overtly Christian. It wasn't like subtle little hints, and you had to pick out the clues. Would you play something like that, like a Bob Dylan song from that album?
Probably not, just because we're very, very narrow formatted. There's so many different options.
Well, who does the formatting?
So ultimately me, but then Mike, Big Mike, we call him Big Mike. He, by the way, he's not big, he's tall, but that's it.
Okay.
That's just a name that Frank Reed actually gave him because he was like the big man, you know. So actually he oversees our music, and so we have a pretty narrow criteria that we use just because there are other options that you can listen to. We always say this, not that Chick-fil-A isn't a sponsor of this show or The Journey, but we always like to say when you go to Chick-fil-A, you want it to be consistent. You want to know that you're going to get the same thing when you go there. You're going to get the same kind of customer service. We don't want to play anything that's too far outside of our format because we want it to be consistent, that when you listen to The Journey, you know what to expect. And that goes for, even if it's an artist that would play a lot of songs, if they play something that's a little too heavy rock, we may not necessarily play that song just because it's outside of what our listeners are expecting to hear.
So the listeners really dictate a lot of the format. You know, because, and in particular with the Christian audience, it's not just quality music, it's also message. Yeah, that's why they tuned in, you know, in the first place is for the message and all that. You know, I was just thinking, you know, U2 has some songs that are overtly evangelical kind of thing, or at least mention Christ, and you know, but that's not the kind of thing you would play, right?
Right. And then too, we always look at if an artist has a Christian song, is this an artist that we're comfortable playing, so that if you go to listen to some of their other songs, or some of their other songs going to be songs that are counter to what our beliefs are. So, so we really look at not just the song, but also the artist. You mentioned that listeners having a say in what we play. You didn't say it that way. I did.
Well, okay.
Well, we actually have a music team, which you can join, and we send out a survey once a month. And we put songs out there that you can vote yes or no. Play more, play less.
Well, every station that plays music is dictated by the audience. I mean, if a station continually plays stuff that no one's listening to, they won't be around long.
Yeah,
so, so all these are responsive to audiences. There's nothing new there. But as far as y'all, it sounds like you have a much more active listenership than just, you know, people driving around in the car.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah, we have people that, you know, they listen at work. And because of our non-commercial status, we have people who support us financially. They're literally, to use the term as it is, invested more in what we do, because now they're a part of our mission by helping to support that mission and actually add fuel to it.
But also, just as you're selective in music, you're also selective in donors. All right, and as I am in my sponsorship, I mean, never have had to sponsor anybody that I had any second thoughts about, but I wouldn't do a vape shop, for example. Yeah. You ever get that situation where somebody...
We have, yeah. You know, now, let me separate the two. We do have listener support. We'll take money from any person that wants to give us money. We don't. It doesn't matter who it is.
Okay.
As far as business partnerships, we're a little more selective because we want to make sure that business, it doesn't even have to be a Christian business.
Oh, well, most of them aren't in the Christian business, but they're Christian business people.
Yeah, they're Christians who own a business or run a business.
Exactly.
Even if you don't even have to be a Christian, running the business. If you believe in community and you operate your business according to biblical principles, most of the time, though, the partnership and the really common denominator is we all believe in the same mission and the evangelical and reaching people with encouragement, and so that really is the common denominator there.
Well, I would imagine all your donors. It isn't just for good publicity and whatever else. They're doing it because they that sense of mission and whatever else. But you've had to turn people away, I would imagine, every now and then because they may not be, I don't know. It's not so much they're involved in something nefarious or anything silly like that, but they just don't fit the culture. And I've had to tell a couple of sponsors that, or potential sponsors, they don't fit the culture of what I'm trying to create here. And also, I look at my sponsors over the years. I've had several. Some, this isn't a permanent arrangement with them. It's month to month and that kind of thing. I think of them as I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing them as well. And I don't want to bring in a sponsor that would not fit the culture of Our Place Restaurant or Old Pro Roofing, et cetera, all the others I've had before. Because you don't want, these businesses don't want to be associated with that. And I'm sure the same thing with y'all. You got to be selective. Now, as far as the individual people, if you got some heathen out there that has $10,000, I'm sure you'll tell them where to send it to.
Scripture says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous, right? Yeah. So it really, if the Lord deals with someone to give financially to the station, and in fact, starting tomorrow is our fall celebration, and it's the time that we take in the fall to remind people that we are listener supported, and then to give them an opportunity to support us and to keep us funded for the next 6 months or so. I do want to mention that we've already kind of started, we call this our Kickstarter, which started about 10 days ago. Today is the last day to do that. In fact, if you donate today, your name goes into the drawing for 2 Thanksgiving dinners, a $200 gift card for your family for Thanksgiving dinner, and then you also receive another $200 gift card that you can give to a family in need.
Well, who's supporting that? Is it just a station, or is that or a private donor?
We have a donor that's provided these gift cards to us, and so. But it's just a way to say we want to incentivize you to go ahead and give early before the celebration starts. So in order to do that, everybody who gives during our Kickstarter, and that ends today, then your name goes into the drawing for those 2 $200 gift cards.
Josh, you pull up what I sent you this morning. Here we go. God Stories Fall Celebration. Tell us about this.
So we really want to talk over the next few days about God stories, about what God is doing in people's lives, and especially as it relates to how the journey has been involved in that. And so we're really celebrating that. We're celebrating what God is doing through our communities and through the journey. And so we encourage you to not only share your story, but also to help give to the station so that other stories can be told. And so we have our website there, 883thejourney.org. There's a way to give. In fact, you'll see this very graphic on our website. You can click that or just click the donate button. Or we have a phone number that you can actually text the word give to 844-298-4883. Starting tomorrow, you could actually call that. We'll have people that'll be on the phones that you can talk to them and let them know what you would like to give. And also to share your story about how God has used the journey in your life.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it is when we're younger, we think we need to have a story that's dramatic, that is unbelievable, or whatever else. So much of what truly God-driven stories are about just getting through everyday kind of things.
Yes,
I used to think when I was a kid, gosh, I wish I was a drug addict. I had a great testimony.
Right.
That kind of thing,
Yeah, you don't know what you're saying.
I know, but
you're looking at the end.
Right.
Right, not necessarily the process.
And that's exactly, as I got older and a little bit smarter, I realized how lucky I was, how fortunate I was. I didn't have to go through that to get to this point.
And you have a better story of God protecting you from those things.
Yeah, just like, but when you're 16 years old and you see a former Hell's Angel up there at the podium, and he's talking about these stories and how God, he had a Damascus Road experience or something like that. I'm like, I've been going to church all my life, and if I didn't go to Sunday school, I'd get in trouble and that kind of stuff,
right.
But that's still a story. What is my story would be? I had godly parents investing in my
Absolutely.
spiritual growth.
Can I tell you one of those stories?
You betcha.
We heard recently from, I'm going to call him Mark, but Mark was telling us that he had found out that his wife was cheating on him. And so he had become enraged, and he's ex-military, dealing with all of the effects of a lot of that, and had decided one day that he was going to go confront his wife and her lover. And so he knew where they were. He was on his way to confront them. He stopped at a light. He heard a song on the journey about forgiveness. And that song, mind you, it was a song on a radio station, spoke to him about forgiveness. He turned the car around and went back home. And what he told us later was that car was loaded with ammunition. That car was loaded with all kinds of weapons. He was going to go do some damage, not just to confront. The Lord touched his heart, and he used a radio station, the journey, to minister through a song. I've been doing this almost 40 years, and I'm still amazed at how God will use a radio station like ours to minister to someone and touch someone where they are. And so he went through and told us the rest of the story about how he has forgiven her and forgiven this gentleman and released all of that, and then also dealing with the anger and the, he had gotten to that point to where he was going to go do some harm and break laws. And now he's dealing with that as well. But it's just, again, powerful stories, some not near as extreme as that. Robert contacted us and said he was in the Johnson County Jail for quite a few months, and because of sickness, he was having to be isolated. And in an area where he was isolated, he had a radio station in his jail cell. And ironically, I use quote fingers, coincidence is when God remains anonymous, right?
I guess.
He had a radio station, and the only station that radio would pick up was 88.3 The Journey. And he listened to it, and it encouraged him and kept him going through that time of not only the isolation, but also through his time in jail. He now is out and was sharing the story with us how we kept him going during that time.
And you must get those stories all the time.
Yes.
It must be very, not just reassuring, but, because we've talked about this before. I mean, running in the nonprofit world, it's a constant thing to try to keep quality service and fundraise and meet the needs and all this other stuff, and it can be taxing, physically and emotionally and whatever else. So you need these stories, don't you? Scripture
says, and I'm paraphrasing here, that that testimonies make fat the bones, right? And you can tell by looking at me, I've had a lot of testimonies told me, but it really does. That really is, yes, the financial aspect, people giving money. That's great. We need that too. But we also love to hear the stories of encouragement, because that does encourage us to continue going, because that's our mission. I have to remind myself, because as the manager, it seems like a lot of times I feel like that my job is raising funds and all of the business aspect of a nonprofit. I have to remind myself that our mission is not to raise money. Our mission is not money. Our bottom line is to encourage people every single day through great Christian music. And so when I remind myself of that mission, and then I hear encouragement from people that are saying that's exactly what's happening, that's what drives me to do the parts, as we talked about earlier, the parts that maybe we don't enjoy. So my wife and I host the morning show, Rich and Tanya in the morning from 6 to 10. I love doing that. I love being on the air with my wife. I love sharing life with our listeners. That's fun. It's some of the behind the scenes stuff that's not necessarily fun. But when I hear these stories, it just drives me to say, I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that we are there to accomplish the mission that God's called us to.
6 to 10, that's an early morning wake-up call.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if, as I'm getting older and more semi-retired, I get more retired and less semi. It's hard to get up in the morning, but I do it. But it's like, but that's the kind of thing you have to do.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, I assume that on that website, there, when we talk about donations, there is a monthly given option.
Sure.
That would access your card once a month, like most others do.
When you go to either the donate button, or which is the top right-hand corner, or if you see that graphic that we just showed that talks about our fall celebration.
Will you throw that website back up, bud?
Yeah, so you can.
That too.
Yeah, you can see our website there. But if you go to the top right-hand side where it says Give Now, you click there, or in that banner rotation that's rotating around, you'll see the graphic about our fall fundraiser or whatever. When you click there, it'll give you the option to do a one-time gift or a monthly gift. And so what we do encourage people is to think about doing $1 a day, which is $30 a month. And you set it and forget it. Basically, we can set it up so that it's automatically taken out every single month. You tell us how much, you tell us when. And we have a thing called day sponsorship. So for $60 a month, you can actually become a day sponsor, and you choose the day on the calendar, And on that day, we'll run announcements like 8 to 10 times that day to tell people why you're sponsoring that day.
Even if it's just a person, not
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's say you and Robin, you wanted to be a day sponsor for your anniversary, and you chose that day if it's available. And then you tell us, you tell us, hey, this is how I feel about Robin. This is what I want to say. It's kind of like a greeting card. And then 8 to 10 times that day, we run that announcement to say, thanks to today's day sponsor, Brad and Robin Allard on their 56th wedding anniversary. I made up a number.
Well, no, we got married when we were 4.
Yes, you
child
did.
bride. We were arranged marriage. That kind
absolutely.
Of thing. No, it's been 38 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're not far behind. We're at 35 years, Tanya and I. So, but yeah, day sponsorship is $60 a month. You can also do a one-time gift, and then we also have what we call legacy givers that give $1,000 a month or more, and those are people who want to give because they really appreciate what we're doing, and they want to become legacy givers to give, again, $1,000. We have several that give $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Some of them they break it out and they give weekly, and it totals up to $1,000 a month as they, coming out of their paycheck. And we tell people this all the time, and I want to remind you, we're not asking for the tithe money for your church. We want you to support your church. We're not telling you to ever not support other nonprofits to support us.
Right.
And we're also not going to ever tell you to take your bill money or your grocery money and send it to us. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about above and beyond what you do for your church and taking care of your family, whatever the Lord puts on your heart. That's what we're asking you to give.
Yeah, I don't think the Lord will honor a gift that is taking money away that is obligated for other people.
No.
Paying your bills or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh well, I'm going to give money to my church and not pay my electric bill. Well, that I don't think that's what God wants of anybody.
Right.
We want to be responsible citizens and whatnot. But it sounds like a pretty well thought out plan. You got a lot of different ways to do it. You know?
Yeah.
But the nonprofit people tell me that it's a small donations consistently given that really they value the most. Because
Absolutely.
will they take $1,000? You bet they will. But and they'll be glad to cash your $5,000 check. But it really, the heart and soul of these organizations are the daily or the monthly givers.
Yeah.
And one should never feel like that because I can't give $1,000 a month, therefore I can't give anything. I've brought this up many times on the show, so listeners should know it about my reference to the widow's mites.
Yeah.
What did Christ say about her?
Yep.
She gave more than all the rest.
She gave more. It's not the size of the gift; it's the size of the generosity and the size of the heart. Jennifer on Friday, a lady named Jennifer just gave $5 gift. We didn't call her back and say, "Look, if you can't give more, don't even try." You know what we didn't? We said, "Thank you, Jennifer."
Sure.
That was probably as much to her as someone who gave $10,000 because her heart was generous and that's what she could give.
Well, I remember Lisa Schwartz of Crazy Ace told me a story within a month ago about, and we were talking about this kind of thing. It was one of her former clients gave $6, and she knows that $6 was hard come by.
Yeah.
And so it really meant a lot to her. I mean, it made some emotion. I believe she told that story on the North Texas Giving Day, which you need to be a part of next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was a good show.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite shows. And also, for me, to observe how these people interact with each other, I mean, there's no competition or jealousy at all.
No.
I mean, you picked the right community to do what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Because you're not going to have resentment sent towards your way that you got $10 that this group did not get. They were like, good for you. God bless your work. They're very supportive.
Yeah, we love all of the different organizations that we've become a part of. I serve on the Burleson Chamber Board, so I'm very involved with the Burleson Chamber. That's how I really know Megan from Next Steps and Kelly. Hey, Kelly, if you're still watching. Kelly from Harvest House, really working alongside them. Melissa, obviously, from the Chamber, working alongside them. Really do believe in a lot of great organizations here in the area. And I understand that most of us can't support all of them. And so that's where I would say pray about what the Lord would have you do. And look, if you have a list of all the organizations and the journey falls below that line and you're not able to support us financially, that's okay. Because again, there's a lot of great work that's going on in the area. So here's what I would say. If you can't give, pray.
That's where I was going to lead next, is that there's other ways of support other than just money.
Yeah, you can. So when we talk about missions, this is kind of a side note. When you talk about missions work, you talk about prayers, senders, and goers, right? Not everybody wants to go overseas on a mission trip, but everybody can pray, and most people can send by giving money. I think it's the same thing with the journey. We'd love for you to, number one, pray that God will show himself real over these next few days and speak to the hearts of those who can give. And then there's some who can give and send the mission. And then there's some that want to go and be ambassadors. And that's like, go to our Facebook page, share our comments, our posts about what's going on, be an ambassador. We even have a street team that we put together, and we go do these pop-ups at these concerts and different events. We have a group of people that'll come and they'll work the booth for us. So if you want to be a part of our street team, to be an ambassador, if you want to be a part of our prayer team, because we have listeners that send us prayer requests, you can be a part of our prayer team, and we'll let you know what those requests are, and you can help pray for our listeners. There's a lot of different ways that you can engage with the journey other than just listening on the radio, and we'd love to help you engage at the highest level that you can.
It sounds like a very inclusive organization. I mean, it isn't just a passive listening experience.
Absolutely.
Wow. There's a couple of nonprofits I want to throw up there before I forget, because I always tend to get engaged in the conversation and I forget. Speaking of chamber, we have the breakfast, Business Over Breakfast. It's coming Tuesday of 28th. It's always the last Tuesday of the month.
This is one of my favorite events. I mean, absolute favorites. I'm there probably except for 2 times a year. I'll be there at this one, and I love this event.
My problem is I have a class at DBU that kind of makes it, I couldn't stay until 9 o'clock. I'd have to leave like at 8:15, but they said, come get some coffee and schmooze anyway.
And I love this about the Business Over Breakfast is we'll have between 75 and 100 people there, but the way it's laid out, everybody gets 30 seconds to tell who you are, what you do, and an update of your business, your organization. Not a lot of and it's really more relational than it is just networking, and so it's really a great event.
I also like the Tuesday night. They have the Network at Night, the second Tuesdays of the month. I believe it's going to be at Southern Gym in November. Okay, and I'm very familiar with that business, BNI friend and such.
Yeah.
Also, I believe Harvest House has something coming up. There you go, the Harvest Brunch. I hope, Kelly's behind this one here. It's at the Pathway Church. And they do a lot of stuff at Pathway. I mean, it's become our de facto community center, in effect.
Yeah.
November 6th from 10 to 11:30. It's not just a fundraising event. It's also a time to fellowship and share what's going on. So, Thursday morning, November 6th, check out the QR code like you just did.
In fact, Kelly, if you're listening, I did have a previous engagement. Wasn't going to make this, but that's not happening, so I'm going to be at this brunch.
There you go.
I like me a good brunch, and I love Harvest House, so that's a great combination.
Well, and Amber and Kelly will be on next week.
Yeah.
Next Monday. I have them on about every 6 weeks. I like to have the nonprofits on. When I started this show back in September 19, it was me ranting about the latest outrage in politics.
Which that's great.
Yeah, it's fine, but it over time, it just morphed over into this, what we're doing now. And I had people say, hey, don't you have any comment about what's going on in D.C. or Austin? I said, sure, but, it's like, I don't want to sacrifice what we're doing here with you just so I can vent my spleen.
Sure.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what God has kind of drifted my show over towards, is like more of community-oriented stuff, and, and next spring we're going to have, potentially 7 elections in our community. And so that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I would like to say this. You're doing exactly like what we talk about that we do at the Journey. You're being the mouthpiece, and you actually have one step that we don't have, which are the cameras, because I have a face made for radio.
I've been told that too.
But you really are doing the exact same thing. Is you're giving exposure to organizations, nonprofits, different businesses, different people in the community that wouldn't necessarily not have that kind of exposure. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I enjoy it. I really do. I feel like it's it's been a gift. It started when I had retired from teaching high school in 19, and I was about to start DBU, and my wife said, look, I don't want you ranting around here, all that. You just, save it for somebody else. Why don't you go try to make money off of this? And then Taylor and his partners at the time hooked me up with this show, and here I am. And I really, really like it, and I do feel like it does some good. I mean, some shows get better numbers than others and all that, and that's fine. But I do feel like it has some productive use.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any more nonprofit stuff going on. I know that there's going to be some stuff in December, and they're going to get to it. I have, like Elizabeth Becker said, she had some stuff to promote when she's on the show, but that's about 3 weeks away.
Can I just tell you, too, about one of the things that I love about how we partner together with other nonprofits is Amber and Kelly and Summer and Megan from Next Steps. And a lot of them are actually coming over the next 3 days to help us at our fundraiser, like answer phones. And the reason they're doing it is because, again, it's a partnership. We are helping each other, showing that we're all in this together. This is not
they're going to
us
answer live
versus
on
them.
the air like a PBS kind of thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're sitting at a phone, and whenever somebody calls in their support, they're answering the phone and they're taking the call and they're putting it in the computer. And so,
Can you do that on Zoom and have it shown live as it's going on?
it's something I hadn't really thought of. Now, I don't know if I can fully commit to this, but one of the things we're working on is we're going to be possibly live streaming our fundraiser, like from the control room. So you'll get to see us in there as we're talking. It's not going to be near as fancy as Mr. Allard's Neighborhood as far as production value, right?
Well, that's true. Taylor and Josh have a pretty good outfit here.
Yes.
A lot of people that walk in here for the first time think this isn't anything like I thought it'd be.
Top notch.
Yeah, they're thinking they're going to be talking out of onto a camera on the computer, and it's going to be in mom's basement or something. But no, they do make me look a lot better than I am. But
and that's hard work.
you darn too. No, we're talking about miracles today, right?
Right.
So we've got a few more minutes. He has a show coming up pretty soon. That's somebody we've met before.
Yeah.
I Like Birds, I think it's called, right?
Yes, yeah, Zach's a good guy.
Okay. Let's talk about this specific function this week, coming up.
Yeah. So our fall celebration starts tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. It's basically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it's just going to be, it's not going to be us talking the whole time. We're still playing lots of great music, but we'll also be giving you opportunities to give. There's interesting things that people will call in and say, hey, I want to do a $5,000 dollar for dollar match. In other words, I want to match everything that comes in this hour up to $5,000, $2,000. So from time to time that happens. That's kind of fun. We're also giving away some concert tickets. We'll give you an opportunity. There's a big concert coming up this weekend. David Crowder, Passion, Cody Carnes. They're going to be at Texas Trust CU Theater. And we've been given some tickets and some VIP meet and greet tickets. We're going to be giving those away this week for those who give during a certain hour. We put your name in the drawing. There's 1 hour that everybody who gives at a certain level is going to get tickets. So we're giving away lots of concert tickets. We're just going to have a lot of fun. And then again, our studios are in Keene on 213 West Hillcrest Street. We'll have snacks. We'll have food. It'll be a lot of fun. You can come answer phones. You can come hang out. It's just a celebration, and so we'd love for you to take part in that. And it starts tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, and we'll go through Friday morning at 10. So at 10 o'clock on Friday is when we'll end it. Our goal is $100,000, so we're looking to raise $100,000. We're at about $7,000 right now as we get started tomorrow morning. So we'd love to raise that $100,000 on or before 10 o'clock on Friday morning.
Well, this will be on my station at 6 o'clock tonight and 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, awesome.
So you'll get some coverage there, I hope.
Great.
Depends. Sometimes, like it is in any radio-related thing, some days are better than others, numbers-wise.
Yep.
So you'll get some coverage, hopefully, from that. And also, I usually, I put this on my Facebook, and I put the YouTube clip that simultaneous of this, and so they'll be able to see all that. All I can say is God bless you for what you're doing, because I personally experience it. My wife knows the music better than I do. Mm-hmm. I'm still stuck in the 70s, man.
Sure.
Listening to Boston and whatever. But the point is that I know what it does because I see what it does for her. And we've had some tough times. Not, my father passed and that kind of thing, and she took it harder than I did.
Sure.
And so that really lifted her. Mm-hmm. And then we've had, she had some illness, and it really uplifted her to have that kind of music going through her head, so to speak, and be surrounded by that.
That's awesome.
So I know what you're doing works, and I very much hope that you get what you need financially.
Thank you.
And if this can contribute in any small way, then I'm glad to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh, for what you've done.
Anytime.
Great job.
And he's really good.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, we don't want him to get away and go to the big time, but there you go.
It's pretty big time right here.
All right. I don't know. Anyway, so y'all tune in this week. And if you feel led to, you know where to go to help support this outfit. So Thank you,
Thank you.
Rich.
Thank you.
All right. But we'll see y'all on Thursday. I have Sandy Mason with the American Legion on. We're going to be talking about Veterans Day and Veterans Affairs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
See y'all later.